People sometimes think the Duke is a peripheral character. He somehow comes third after Angelo and Isabella, and I don't really see it like that. I think he's the first character. I think he's the central character of the whole evening. He's the Duke of Vienna, and in those days, in Shakespeare's plays, he will refer to the ruler of a country by the name of the country. So the King of France is called France, the King of England is often called England, the King of Denmark is called Denmark, and here the Duke of Vienna is called Vienna. So the Duke decides to explore his city, Vienna, by going in disguise as a friar and moving around the streets of Vienna. But of course, the ambiguity is that he's exploring Vienna, which is both the name for his city and also his name for himself. So he's kind of exploring himself. Again, there's this problem with purity, that the Duke, in a way, is more advanced than Angelo because he's neurotic. And he's better off than Angelo, who isn't. Angelo's far too mad to be neurotic. The Duke knows he has complexes, that he can't govern, that there's this law against sex that he can't put into practice. He has lines when he goes into disguise which implies that he has problems with sex. And at the end of the play, he's able to get married. He's actually able to forge some sort of relationship with Isabella, however ambivalent it may be. He does manage to make some romantic connection with another human being. But as if he spends 5 acts trying to get himself into that position. How successful it will be, I wouldn't care to hazard, but it's some kind of beginning. He consequently, I think, goes on a voyage of discovery. Goes on a sort of pilgrimage to himself, around himself. And in it he meets this person, this prisoner called Barnardine. And Barnardine's, they can't put Barnardine to death, funnily enough, because he can't repent. And it would be a terrible thing to execute somebody if they haven't repented to God, because they're all Christian. And this man is so terrible. He curses, he swears, he uses bad language, he says he won't confess to a priest, and they're all frightened to execute him because he'll go straight to hell. They like executions, but they don't quite like sending people to hell. And so he's somehow spared, and the Duke wants to see him because he's so fascinated by this kind of alter ego. It's like the opposite of him. It's this man who is apparently all evil. And he's like the mess inside the Duke that the Duke doesn't want to see. And I think that they're quite parallel. And at the other side, we've got Angelo, the man who thinks he's completely pure. It's not totally different. It is different, but it has certain similarities to the relationship of Prospero to the Ariel, the ethereal spirit, and to Caliban, who's this sort of apparently more animal or primitive side of man. Of course, it's much, much more complex than that, and in many respects, Ariel isn't that good because Ariel can't forgive. These things are very, very complicated, but it's to do with that kind of tendency that we have as a race to split dualistically into the good and the bad. And it's a great problem for us when we split things up and we can't hold them together. So the only health really for Prospero is when he can hold Ariel and Caliban together inside himself. The only health for the Duke is when he can somehow hold Barnardine and Angelo inside himself. In fact, they both have to be let go in measure for measure.